Okay.
Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being patient. I'm so sorry about that. I just did the Microsoft reboot because everything was being shitty. So we're gonna try it again to go back into it. I appreciate your patience. Why am I in creation? Why am I in abyssal? Hopefully
I'm
everybody's
watching
having
the stream. I'm not seeing any dropped frames. Obviously, wait until the game and everything,
right.
but at least in terms of your camera and what I'm seeing so far, I'm not necessarily seeing any drop frames.
That's good. Awesome. That's awesome.
Hopefully, I didn't just provide false hope.
Yeah. All right. Let's try it now. Hopefully everything's not choppy. Yeah, everything's looking good so far. We're back. We're back. All right. Hell yeah. Thank you so much, guys, for being patient. I appreciate it. What the hell?
Oh, that was just the lag from my controller
Oh,
connecting.
okay, okay, good. Whew. Okay, so thank you everybody for being patient. All right, let's see here. So we were JJJ was talking about he was a previous Soul Calibur 4 and 5 competitor, and obviously he's competed a lot in Part 6. And he was talking about Amy's offense. We didn't really get to the flaws. We're going to save that for the end. Oh, good. Thank you, Hawk. I'm glad it looks better, man. Awesome. So we're going to kind of save that to the end, but he was now explaining between white roses and red roses, and why the red is predominantly preferred by the community. I think that's right.
Mhm.
So go ahead, man.
So the idea around red roses, again, basically the two things, if you want to get really general about the difference between red and white, is red is easier to get, and what it provides you is significantly better than what white provides you.
Mm-hmm.
Red rose can be guaranteed off of a mix-up low. It can be guaranteed off of a variety of different things that white is also guaranteed off of, but you can also go with something that like mid-parry AK, which is a safe string that provides you a red rose. When if
Mm-hmm.
you want to try to get white, you're gonna have to go with something that's a little bit more unsafe. So overall, it's just easier to get, especially with the fact that it's guaranteed off of a low. Not to mention on top of everything. So if I do something like a combo that ends like this,
Mm-hmm.
you see how I'm like right on top of you,
Yeah, it's
right
scary.
after I
Yeah.
got that red rose. Meanwhile, if I do the exact same combo where I go for a white, you see how you actually recover on the ground quicker than I
I do
have
notice
the
that.
ability to? You
Mm-hmm.
actually land on the ground before I do. It
Mm.
actually, well, not as much, but it doesn't provide you with anywhere near as good of a piece of Oki. More often than not, when I fight against an Amy player who's going for white roses, I just
Mm-hmm.
mash in a wake up like that because there's not really a lot they can do about it. It
Right.
honestly provides anti Oki in a position like that. So it's not white rose is not guaranteed off of a low. It does not allow you to chain red roses into into like white roses into other white roses.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really allow for something like that. You just have to get 4 clean hits in order to get white.
Okay.
Uh, and as you know, as a Cervantes player, and I'm sure you played against Nightmare or a variety of other characters, so I'm trying to get 4 clean hits in order to have white roses, which provides me the ability to get purple roses,
Mm-hmm.
which I have to get hits off in order to get that, and then I have like the best character in the game, right?
Right.
Meanwhile, a character like Nightmare or Cervantes is just trying to get 4 hits and then they won the game.
Pretty much. Yeah.
So I'm providing so many additional steps that it's not very conducive to a winning strategy. More often than not, if you won the game with purple Amy, you could have just won the game with red Amy a lot
Right.
faster and a lot safer.
That's fair. Okay. Well, that's good explanation. Thank you. Um. All right. Let's see here. So let's get into your favorite moves and why you use them.
So, when it comes to Amy, let's go off of the moves that you typically use in order to get red roses first. Because if you're playing Amy, that's the first thing that you're thinking about. It's the only thing that you're thinking about until you actually get it.
Right.
Number one, 2-2B. 2-2B is a completely absurd move. It is ridiculously fast to the point where it catches sidestep out of nowhere sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
As you can tell, it provides you fantastic Oki. It is a safe mid-launcher that can also potentially ring out. You can get a variety of different other pieces of Oki and wall pressure off of moves like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a fantastic move. It also does technically have a tech crouch, but for the love of God, anybody who watches this, don't try to rely on this tech crouch. It is not very good. The only time that I ever see this move tech crouch is when Astaroth crouch grabs me. And so that doesn't really help out all that much.
I've seen it evade a lot of grabs, but yeah, it's kind of, I guess it's probably hard to plan to do that consistently. Yeah, I could see that.
When I try to plan around that tech crouch, it lets me down all day, every day.
I can see that, yeah.
Your other move that you want for red roses, because obviously you've got that mid, you also want to make sure that you have the low. That's your 1B.
Mm-hmm.
1B is incredibly short range, and it is minus 18 on block, but the fact of the matter is it's an unseeable low that provides you the ability to get a red rose. So you effectively just have the ability to just run up to somebody and do it again, and do it again, and you just keep repeating this process. Those are two of the main ways that you're going to be getting red roses. The other way that you would want to try and get red roses is with 3BA. 3B on its own is going to be unsafe, but the fact that it's included into a horizontal low string makes it significantly harder to deal with.
Right.
The full string in and of itself is safe, so there's that. You have the ability to get a red rose off of just 3B and with 3BA. And that's basically a lot of what you end up doing. Unfortunately, especially online, this has significantly more efficacy than it does offline, but it can still be a hassle in both environments to try and deal with this.
Yeah,
because you're effectively just doing regular string stuff.
Yeah.
So that's essentially how you want to be getting red roses. Now, the similarity between all the moves that I just described is that they're all verticals.
Mm-hmm.
Predominantly, the only way that Amy can get red roses is off of vertical attacks.
Mm-hmm.
So 9 times out of 10, anybody who has any semblance of understanding how to deal with Amy, they are just constantly sidestepping.
Right.
Because if they don't have red roses, then that's all they're thinking about, right? All they want to do is try and get red roses. So how does Amy keep somebody from sidestepping? Fortunately, although they're not particularly high damaging, she has some of the best horizontals in the entire game.
Mm-hmm.
The strongest of which is 3A.
Oh, I hate this move so much.
3A, even after it was significantly nerfed in the last important patch, this is arguably the best move in the entire game.
Mm-hmm.
I think just straight up. It tech crouches really quickly, it's incredibly safe, it's a mid-hori, so that already jams it up quite high. Provides you automatic combo on counter hit into 6BB, into AMS pressure, all that kind of stuff. It's just a fantastic move. It's a fantastic defensive move, just because the tech crouch happens so quickly.
For sure, yeah, that I see consistently, tech crouch. This move's obnoxious.
No, yeah, that tech crouch is incredibly good. The other one that you want to go with is 4A. 4A, as you can tell, unseeable horizontal low. It's hard to get better than that. It also lurches forward in a tech crouch motion. Even a character with a fantastic backdash in a lot of situations cannot backdash this if they're at a small frame disadvantage. That's just rough stuff.
Yeah, it's hard.
Nope. Yeah, you can't. Not even Cervantes.
Yeah, it looks like it won't hit you, but then it just clips your ankles. It's crazy.
Yeah, it goes really, really far.
Mm-hmm.
Minus 20, so you are effectively sacrificing launcher damage if you end up trying to use this as just like a straight up blow, but still very scary stuff.
For sure. Okay.
Honestly, those two moves, I'll go into some of the other ones, but those two moves, every time I talk to an Amy player, and the Amy player, 9 times out of 10 when I talk to an Amy player who is just starting to play Amy, after they've realized that the character is BS and they want to do the same thing that gets done to them all the time,
right,
the main frustration they get is the fact that like they can't build roses. People are just they're unable to build roses, and then they're just playing a character with a toothpick that does no damage, and it's very frustrating for them.
For sure.
And every single time I see them play, I'm like, I'd be willing to bet before I even see you play, you need to be doing 3A and 4A more often.
Absolutely.
The more often you do this, the better it's going to be. And honestly, this is the overarching game plan of Amy, is that you are constantly doing stuff like this over and over again to the point where, although you're not really doing a lot of damage, you're
them.
annoying the hell out of your opponent to such a degree that they will finally be forced, conditioned to like, okay, fine, I'm going to stand block, and I'm going to try and statue block my way out of the situation.
And I'll take the
That's
50-50s
exactly
now.
what you
Yeah,
want.
yeah. That's a really good strategy. You're right. I don't see enough Amy's do that. They go for the really, really linear shit. They get sidestepped, and then they wonder, oh, it must be the character. Like, yeah. The 3A
Oh,
is
it's so
super important.
frustrating because it's like Amy players will do something like they'll run up to their opponent, do 1-3A, and then they'll be like, okay, I've conditioned them to do this
Yeah,
1B. And
no,
it's like,
no.
no, dude, 1 is not enough. Not even close.
Right. Yeah, no, you
You
gotta.
gotta keep hammering out that
hmm
detail.
No, it's true. You're. That's good call outs because even like, oh my god, my bad. I didn't mean to do that. My buttons are all messed up. But well,
Oh, we're.
I'm trying to do like that, right? This is not
Mhm.
the most high damaging low, whatever, but it's enough to like. Are you gonna stop moving? Like that's really
Yeah.
the level people need to look at for why certain moves are the way they are. Is they're trying to do something with a purpose. Not every move is supposed to be a lot of damage. I think people get confused about that.
Yeah, the whole idea. In fact, I mean, it's kind of the basic concept of horizontal attacks in a game like this, just in general, right?
hmm
Horizontal attacks traditionally are not the moves that people want to hit. They're the moves that are used as a vehicle to condition people into getting hit by stuff like this.
Right.
The horizontal attack is not the attack that's supposed to do a lot of damage. Very similar to the fact that the low attack is not the attack that's supposed to do a lot of damage. These are all just setups to get you hit by the mid launcher.
Exactly.
That's always been the whole idea. Amy just happens to have the best hories in the game, but the reason people get hit by them so often is because statue blocking Amy is
Scary.
ensures you're going to lose.
hmm Yeah, you have to have really, really good reads to like really punish her, and yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I feel like a lot of people are just not. I'm not trying to be like mean, but just being honest, a lot of you guys are just not playing it right. But hopefully
They
this will
don't
help you.
really play the matchup all that correctly, and also they get frustrated very easily. Now, don't
hmm
get me wrong, Amy's incredibly frustrating. That is
Sure.
a natural response, even to somebody like me. It is a chore. And I think the thing that is also very difficult about Amy is, you know how with Maxi in this game, he has a lot of frustrating stuff. He has a lot of stances that are very complicated and
Right.
seems like he can overwhelm you with a lot of knowledge checks. But if you actually take the time to learn all of his stances and all of his transitions, his pressure frankly isn't all that powerful.
It's
You
true.
have the ability to move around that kind of stuff, and so from the second that you learn more about Maxi, he immediately becomes weaker.
Absolutely. Because a lot of his
On
stuff, a lot of his best stuff are transitional highs where you can duck and really hurt him.
Yeah,
And people are
step
just like,
ducking
oh,
and
yeah.
stances all the time and stuff.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, with Amy, you need to do the same kind of knowledge studying. You
hmm
need to do all that research, but once you do that, she isn't really that less effective. And that's one of the most frustrating things is that doing that knowledge checking just puts you in the ballpark of beating Amy. It doesn't actually beat Amy for you like it does a character like Maxi
For
or
sure.
possibly Voldo in a lot of places as well. Once you learn that stuff, now you're competing with her. The fact of the matter is, you can't learn how to beat this. This move is just really good.
No, for sure. And you
there's
can't learn how to
there's
be
not much
50-50s.
else.
You can't learn how to be 50-50s. Either you guess right or you didn't.
Yeah,
That's so yeah,
that's just the way it is.
that's a good game
But
plan.
a lot of people get frustrated very quickly, and 9.9 times out of 10, whenever I'm fighting against somebody who has complained to me that they don't know how to beat Amy,
hmm
when I run up to them, they do this. And they just stand there.
That's why he's winning.
And
Yeah,
they'll
that's why
like
she's
just
winning.
try to block the mix, and I'm like,
hmm
you will beat no Amy player trying to do this. I mean, you could just be a god among gods and just be correct about all mixes for the entire game,
But you're making
in which case congratulations.
it much
But
harder for yourself.
overall,
Yeah.
you're not going to do it because I'm going to get roses too quickly. The entire game is about how long it takes me to get roses, to be completely honest.
Right.
Effectively, the way that I measure it, even today, despite the fact that some of the moves that Amy got in Red Roses are weaker,
hmm
if I lose the first round and I got 3 red roses in that lost first round, I consider that effectively a tie. If I got all of my roses, I have red, but I lost the first round, I actually won.
I can see that.
That's how big of a deal it is. Getting a full set is a very, very big deal.
I can definitely see it. Okay, thank you for that info. All right, let's see, where are we gonna go over next? So let's go over. You went over the step killers pretty well. What about her pokes? I imagine 6B and what
Yeah,
else?
6BB, you got an I-10 that also goes into AMS pressure. If you want to talk about aggressive stuff at some point, we can also go into that and the parries and stuff like that. Your poking is effectively the same thing as your Horis. 3A is one of the best pokes, one of the best ways to catch people step ducking. I mean, it's a step duck meta, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't get a better answer than this. Your 4A, I mean, look how far away I am. Like,
It's insane.
it's just so difficult to deal with. And one of the moves that I didn't end up talking about with regards to something that can be very scary, especially when you're at frame disadvantage, that this is the only significant buff that she got in the last patch, which had a list of significant nerfs to the character. But 6-6B became an overwhelmingly powerful tool. So 6-6B can be canceled into parries. It can also go into a high string, which has always been the case.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, if I can get a counter hit off of 6-6B, then you end up getting a pop-up like this.
Yeah,
That's a
scary.
lot of damage.
That's a lot of damage. Plus
Now,
Oki
if
too.
I end up getting the same thing, and I already have red,
Oh, this hurts. I've been hit by this a million times. That hurts.
79 damage. Now, I don't really get that much Oki on that, but that's almost 80 damage off of a move that is safe. That has a string that you have to be potentially worried about. This is very difficult to deal with. The only weakness to it is for an old decrepit man like me with regards to hit confirming.
Right.
That's really the only scary part of it. I can also like go into like resets like this, and now I go into here, and now I'm doing this, and just everything snowballs with Amy to such an incredible degree. So counter hit hunting with 6-6B, 3A/4A to try and catch people running around. There's also a move like 6A, which is also a pretty difficult move to deal with. Just you're another double mid Hori that could potentially be RE safe. I have 2 potential strings that I can go into. Here's a mid that can be sidestepped,
Oh, okay. Oh, you can sidestep the mid.
but then
Okay.
I also have this,
Oh, okay.
and then you end up getting hit by that, but that is also a high, so technically speaking, there is a mix-up where if you guess correctly, you do get a huge amount of damage.
Right. Right.
And
Okay.
so most Amy players do not really finish this string much at all. I think the only people who finish this string just in neutral are people who haven't been punished that heavily for it yet.
Right.
But
What,
that
that
being
makes
said,
sense.
6A just on its own, I mean, just keep doing this, yo. just keep doing it. It's really, really good.
Is it unsafe by itself?
No. No.
Oh, okay.
Wait, it is? Did I just
Cool.
lie? I just have never been punished for this ever in my entire life?
I know why, but I still agree with your strategy because it's the same concept as 3B.
Yeah,
3B
it is.
itself, you're gonna get wrecked, but who's gonna punish it when you have strings to look for? So that's good to know.
Boy, I got some egg on my face. I had no idea that 6A was unsafe on its own. I've never been punished for it.
But again,
That's really funny.
when you're so scared of it's still a viable mix-up, right? I mean, technically, yeah, you can punish it, but I feel like if an Amy does that and you make that read, you just downloaded the player, right? You just made
Yeah.
it because you're not afraid of those extensions or you're a madman. So I don't know. But
Yeah,
that's
the
cool. That's cool to
3B
know.
definitely has significantly more efficacy to trying to deal with it, especially when you're dealing with characters like your Yoshimitsu or your Nightmare that have a jump kick that can effectively option select it.
Right, right.
Killick straight up has an option select to deal with 3B/3BA in his 3K, though Killick players typically don't do it because that's just putting yourself at frame disadvantage in front of Amy for
Right.
not really all that much damage, so there can be that. One of the other moves that I didn't mention with regards to getting red roses is also her full crouch A+B.
Oh yeah, I don't like this move. This move makes me sad.
Yeah, this can be a relatively difficult move to deal with. It's only going to get you a rose on counter hit, but the fact of the matter is, it's just a really annoying move. The only weakness to it really is the fact that I have to, do it as from crouch, and it's not really that. It doesn't really go that far. You can charge it up. so that it's going to be neutral on block, or you can just go with the traditional -8. And
No.
-8 to Amy means you still can go into parries and a
Right.
variety of other stuff.
Yeah, -8 is bad for most characters. Not that so people understand. -8 is not that it's unsafe. -8 means that they effectively can't do shit like, "Hey, I'm not gonna move around you." You know, movement in a 3D game is very important. But anything -6 and below, like you effectively should be blocking or you know, don't be pressing buttons. But yeah, you're right. For Amy, that doesn't mean anything because parries.
And the fact of the matter is, if you're not dealing with an I-10 character, -8 still provides me the ability to do a parry. So it really doesn't matter virtually at all.
Mhm.
Amy, characters that have auto GIs are given free reign to mash more often and be more aggressive in
For sure.
situations where other characters can't. And
For sure.
Amy's are the best in the game.
You know, they're really good at this. It's a pretty big window, right? To deflect.
Yeah, starts at 4, goes to 14.
That's crazy. So,
Yeah, it's also
go ahead.
like there is a strategy that's been going around recently that Link ended up perfecting, where effectively you have the ability to go into one parry into another parry, right?
Hmm.
And so I can go from low into the mid,
Right.
just like that.
Wow. Cool.
Now, this can be very frustrating because in a lot of spots where I'm kind of in a neutral situation, best option, the best example would be like post 4A. A lot of what people want to do in that situation is do something like a 2A,
Hmm.
which can get low parried and mid parried because it's a special mid. So I can do something like low
Okay.
parry, mid parry, and if I connect it off of the low parry, I
Hmm.
still get a combo off of my mid parry AK.
Of course you do.
So she covers a lot of bases really quickly, and it can be really
Crazy.
frustrating because it
Yeah.
immediately beats. So it beats an immediate 2A, it beats an immediate potential low because I'm doing a low parry,
Hmm.
and it beats a delayed mid, which is typically how people try to handle, okay, I baited the parry, now I can go in for the attack, and not so much.
That's wild. That's wildly depressing because I thought I couldn't get any more sad hearing about Amy stuff, but that's
Yeah, this
yeah.
is
Wow.
something that I think even Amy players feel is pretty obnoxious. I thought that like
Hmm.
a pretty solid nerf would be the fact that like, so if I did a low parry, I
Hmm.
shouldn't be able to go my combo off of an effective low parry
Hmm.
is mid parry AK. I shouldn't be able to go into another parry stance
Right.
and still get a combo off of that effective parry. So if I get something off of a low parry, the only way that I can get a combo should just be like a low parry B. And this is honestly the low parry B, in my opinion, is the reason why
Hmm.
the uh the once you get hit by the parry, you are in so much stun for such a long time is because the low parry B is very slow, and so they needed to ensure that you had the ability to hit this move.
Okay.
But nobody really uses it, and so it's kind of unfortunate that people have to suffer through a lot of what Amy does just so that this can be like a viable move. Uh, I think at best it should be like, okay, I effectively got your 2K off of this low parry, but
Hmm.
I didn't commit to it. I just went into a mid parry. You would have to deal with this as like a block string. That's like
Hmm.
the most that it should be. It should not be like a guaranteed combo.
Yeah, it's
But
kind
the
of wild.
chances of this being patched out are slim to none at this
Right.
point.
Right.
So what are
Right.
you gonna do?
Yeah, at this point, I mean, we have to love everything in the game. It doesn't make sense to start tagging developers and complaining about stuff. Like it's just kind of like much more funny than anything. Like, even some people streaming that I usually watch are here in the chat, and I kind of laugh at their Twitter because like, why is this game the way it is? And just it's like you gotta laugh at it at a certain point.
Yeah.
All right,
I
let's
guess
see.
at this point it wouldn't be a bad idea to start going into our offensive pressure with regards to like what the parries do in and of themselves, coupled with the AMS pressure. We can go into that if you
Yeah,
like.
whatever flow you have that's easier for you to break down the character, go for it.
This is a lot of the stuff that I end up overwhelming people a lot with. You can see it in my match against Triple G and a variety of other people. Is I seem to have an affinity amongst my friends that even in tournament matches, running up to them and doing stuff like what I'm doing here,
That's just
and
scary.
effectively forcing them into activating Soul Charge simply by parrying in their face. They get very, very scared, as they should. It can be very overwhelming to
It is
deal
very
with.
scary. No, you're right. That's very scary.
The parries work off of a hit level system. She
Hmm.
has a parry for highs, which also connects with grabs. She has her mid parry, which works off of all mids. It's not like traditional auto GIs that don't work on kicks for some reason. This just works off of anything with regards to a hit level, and low parries deal with lows. As I talked about, low parry into mid parry, both of those hit levels will work off of a 2A, which is a traditional way that people try to get out of situations.
Right. Okay. So the low parry works for this too, right?
Yep.
Oh yeah. That's obnoxious. I don't like that.
Yeah. So try it again.
Oh man.
So like I'm dead
That's
wrong,
scary,
except
yeah.
no, I'm not.
That's scary, man.
So something else that I should mention, just in case nobody knew about it, this was one of the things they changed in the latest patch. I now have a lethal hit stocked in 2-2B because I connected with 4 GIs. That
Ooh,
was
I
the
didn't know that.
condition for the 2-2B lethal hit, and it does count my auto GIs, and it counts them even if I didn't get an ensuing combo off of them.
That's
All I
wild.
have to do is successfully GI you 4 times.
In one round or one match?
That it's just the full match.
Wow.
It's a one-off. It actually doesn't do that much damage. So this is the 2-2B combo. Why didn't it work? Boo.
Yes.
Now I have to ratchet it off again. Oh, it's not going to work because it's only once a game.
Yeah, that's right.
So I had to do this, yeah.
We suck.
I'm just getting used to the timing of the Parsec server.
All good.
There we go. So
All
you can
good.
see like the little bit of a burst.
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
So yeah, that's 80 damage versus the traditional 2-2B combo when you have red, which is 67. So you're talking about like basically an extra 10 damage, and you get it like once a game. So it's not the most impactful thing in the world, but the fact that you can get it off of something like that is a little bit silly.
So reset it again. I just want to test something. Okay, so try the mids again. I want to see if it stacks up after 3 or 4. I'm just curious.
Oh, it's 4.
It is 4?
Mm-hmm. Everything with her is 4.
So was that the burst right there? Wasn't that the lethal hit?
Yeah, that was the burst, yeah.
So that's 3.
That wasn't 4?
No. Reset it again. Let's count. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, it's just 3.
Okay.
Must have been a change too.
Good call out, Daoden. Good call out. So yeah, it's still I mean, it's that's strong either way. 3 or 4. That's not a lot because her parries are very strong. So I think you have always a realistic chance of getting 3 or 4. That's pretty dope.
Oh, you definitely do, especially with the auto GIs. That's one of the most common lethal hits that you see nowadays. The grab one didn't end up happening, but there is a lethal hit off of 4 grabs as well, which is the 6xb plus K lethal hit.
Oh yeah, that makes me sad too.
This one isn't really that big of a deal because basically what the 6xb plus K combo does is just gives you a counter hit combo, which is like an alright combo, but the fact of the matter is if you're just fishing for 6xb plus K in neutral, if I go into AMS, it's like launcher punishable on block, and so you're kind of putting yourself at like a relatively big risk.
Right.
Just for something that is a counter hit combo. The issue with the fact that it is a lethal hit is that it also counts if the grabs get broken, which is a little bit of an eye roll in and of itself.
Yeah, for sure. Cool, man. All right, thank you for that. Does she have? What I should be asking. Okay, I know she has great guard pressure. What is your plan for guard pressure? I imagine 6xb, right, is one of them.
To be honest, Amy guard pressure is okay in the sense of you're probably going to be blocking a lot against her, but it's not really something that I think about all that much, simply because 4BB used to be one of the best things to use for guard crush, because it would be just like a free 15 and it used to be unsafe, but now it's minus 12.
Oh, okay.
And so it became quite a bit of an issue.
Okay.
Ever since then, I don't really think about it all that much. If somebody is in red guard gauge to the point where they're really close, then you can use something like 2-2K or 6AK to try and get a guard break. I think that's her best guard break. It'll allow you to get something like 6A plus B into AMS A plus B.
Mm-hmm.
But frankly speaking, the guard pressure that the character is going to be doing isn't particularly important in my opinion. If the opponent is blocking you a lot on a mid-low mix-up type character, you're kind of in a bad way,
Right,
you
right,
know,
for sure.
for the most part. Some of the other stuff that I should mention with regards to what these stances do, because these aren't just auto GIs, they go into stances that can be interchanged, right?
Right.
Now, the mid parry is the one that you're going to see most people do. There really isn't any mix up to the mid parry. It can be used just straight up as a pressure tool. The
Mm-hmm.
moves that they typically want to use are mid parry AK, which gives you a knockdown into. Oh, I can't actually get the ensuing combo without potentially resetting, but I can just do a different combo. And would potentially give you a red rose, and so that can be pretty difficult to deal with. It's -2 on block. It's going to be RE safe
Mm-hmm.
most of the time. It's a little bit wonky in that regard, but you can also do mid parry K, which is unsafe. It's not particularly a good plan outside of potentially giving you a ring out,
Mm-hmm.
which is actually pretty good at. Is there a fast way till I can do this?
Oh, cheap.
It goes a lot farther than you would think. So that can be quite a frustrating thing to deal with. Now, you also have mid parry AB, which goes into the unblockable. I find this to be a completely online thing.
Oh,
It's
for sure.
not particularly good.
For sure.
Uh, it is reactable to a certain degree, but really the reason why they put it in there is to beat somebody who would try to GI the second hit of mid parry AK. So
Okay.
if you can try to GI the second hit here,
Oh, I have to block the first hit, right? Can I not? Can I not? Oh, there it is. Just
yeah,
kidding.
there you go. Now, it doesn't really give you that much, but a lot of people try to counterplay it like that, right? So that's why they gave you the mid parry AB, right? But the fact of the matter is, the mid parry A recovers so quickly. So assume that I'm going to do the mid parry AK and try to GI the second hit, just like we were talking about.
Okay.
I'll be able to do something like 3B
No, that's really
or
nice.
2-B instead.
Yeah, that hesitation's all you need.
So
That's cool.
there's no reason to really do the mid parry AB because I can just try to do something like this and you won't be, and I'll just be able to react to the fact that you just whipped a GI.
Right.
The fact that the GI doesn't even provide you all that much, just mid parry AB doesn't really have much going for it. Now, I also have mid parry AA, which as you can see gives you quite a lot of hit stun,
Yeah.
and
That's
automatically puts me into high parry if I hold down the button.
Ooh.
So what a lot of stuff like so try to block mid parry AA, and then try to like 2A me.
Okay.
Oh, you delayed it.
Oh, nice. That's
So if somebody ends up blocking the string, they could potentially get into a lot of trouble, assuming they don't know what their character has to potentially beat mid parry AA into high parry A.
do that again. Okay.
Yeah, you can do
So
something
I
like
do
that.
like that.
So try that again.
Oh yeah.
Now you're going to lose
You'll
to
stuff
high
that.
parry B.
You'll stuff that. Okay, so there's the mix-up.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted. Okay.
Yeah, if you do two, specifically for Cervantes, I'm pretty sure if you do 2A plus B, it'll beat both.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Nope.
At least you'll get a clash off of the B, and you'll beat the A.
That's pretty good.
But not every character has something like this. So, for instance,
right.
as far as I know, Siegfried does not have a move that beats both options. Most characters do, but it can be a frustrating thing for them to deal with.
So if people, I'm gonna timestamp this, but I think people should definitely lab this specific. I can't
Yes.
talk. This particular part and see what your character has to deal with this. Hopefully, it's not something like, haha, Astro, I just gotta just block this. Hopefully, it's not something like that. But I hope everybody has like, something to kind of deal with that because that's
You need something that's fast enough to deal with the high parry B, and something that's long enough to deal with the high parry A.
Okay.
It's a cheesy thing that a lot of people can sometimes get overwhelmed with really quickly because there's a lot to get overwhelmed with regarding this character.
Can you just step it? Can you just step it?
Well, you're not going to be able to step the high parry A. You could probably block it, though. Now, the problem is... Oh, if you're looking to see if it's unsafe.
Is it safe? Huh. Oh, okay. So you just chill back there.
Yeah, I can also just hold down G while I'm doing
Oh.
high parry A, and then I go back into another stance.
Oh, that's obnoxious. Okay.
Yes, so
So
there's a
yeah.
lot of stuff that I can potentially do. You really
Okay.
want to try and stick to your stock options.
Okay. Okay. I like that. Good to know. So yeah. And that's the A and the B, right?
Yeah, that's mid parry AA is the one that puts me automatically into high parry stance if I want to.
And the two.
Mid parry AK is really the block string thing that most Amy players are going to do in that situation.
Okay.
So mid
Good to know.
parry stance in and of itself is a pressure thing. It is not really much of a mix-up thing.
That's pretty good. Okay.
High parry is again a pseudo mix-up stance,
Right.
but the quote-unquote mix-up is this low, which is very slow.
Yeah, it's pretty slow.
Uh, I will still use this, but not as a way to try and hit somebody. Because it's slow enough, it can be a fantastic GI bait, and it's completely RE safe.
Really? Huh.
Yes. It's also only -2 on block, so that means nothing to me.
That's really nice. Oh, that's sick. That's
Yeah.
sick.
So you use it as a pressure tool. Any player who is using it as a legitimate low is fooling themselves.
It's Steam, man. They probably are.
Yeah, no, I know there are.
That's a
You
Steam
also,
low. That's a Steam low
it's
for sure.
also a launcher, so you can get a relatively solid combo into Fantastic Oki. So it's kind of a big deal if you end up getting hit by it. It also, for some reason, it guard bursts, which I think is really funny.
That's
It
fine.
heavily scales the combo,
Right.
so I don't advise using it as like the way to break your guard. But yeah, high parry K will like break
Have you
your
ever
guard. It's
accidentally
really
done that
funny.
before? Somebody just broke their guard doing that?
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah.
funny.
And then I
That's
get
funny.
very disappointed.
Yeah, that's
So you've got your high parry K. It's easily reactable. Even online, it should be something that you're looking for. The only time that people get hit by it with regards to it being a low attack is when they have woken up and are just hard committing to a sidestep without really thinking about it.
and generally
It's
they're not
not a low.
they're generally not paying attention. I've noticed that a lot of
Yeah.
people is that, I'm not somebody with good reactions. I'm literally just watching your character versus watching mine. And I think a lot of people get stuck watching what their character's doing, and I kind of feel like you're playing against yourself at that point.
Yeah. It's not really what I would consider to be a low. I consider it to be a pressure tool like I showed before, where people are worried about trying to like get out of this parry stuff, which is all really, really fast.
Right.
And they try to GI, and so it gives you just a slow enough thing to where they have to worry about it. It also effectively quote unquote beats blocking because it's -2, which means nothing to Amy. I can just immediately go into like another parry or something like that.
Right.
And it will beat RE, even REs that typically track. I think the only time that I've gotten hit from an RE after high parry K is with Killick, because Killick can just sometimes track you for absolutely no reason.
Stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. High parry B can do a lot of damage. It's also safe on block. So again, a pressure kind of tool. And high parry A can be a little bit of an evasion. Frankly speaking, the only time that you see high parry A is in the middle of certain combos, but you don't really see the rest of the high parry stance much at all.
Okay.
The low parry stance is a legitimate mix-up stance. Now, low parry B is basically useless. Nobody gets hit by this, even if they 100% thought that there was a low that was coming, just because it's really, really slow. Again, it's safe, but it's really, really slow. Nobody really gets hit by this. Now, if I think that you're just going to try and stand block me, I have low parry K. This is a linear move, but it's an unseeable low that goes really, really far.
Oh, I guess
Depending on where you block it, it can be unsafe or not, which is very frustrating for a lot of people. So if you block it where I'm like right here, try to do like a wall rising A.
Oh, A? Okay.
Yeah, you could probably do A.
Wow.
Yeah, it's -18 if I'm there. But if I'm like here, well, never mind.
I was a whiff. Yeah, I was a whiff.
Hey, you're able to get something. Now, you're not going to be able to do it there. It has a really extended hitbox.
But I have one of the best
can sometimes make
kicks.
it a lot harder.
I have one of the best wall rising kicks in the game, so maybe this is like a pirate thing, because this is
So
this
as
is
opposed to
absolutely
doing wall
ridiculous.
rising A, instead you just get like a wall rising K.
Still, the risk reward is extremely in your favor in this case.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if you know they're doing it, you should be moving out of the way and busting it.
Yeah, exactly, right? So if you're trying to move out of the way, once you see something like this, you're going to be moving out of the way, right?
Mm-hmm. Ooh, that hurts.
So now I have low parry A, which is going to be a gigantic mid hori that you're not going to be able
Ooh,
to
safe
that you're
too.
not going to be able to punish.
Nice, safe too. And it's a mid.
Yeah, that's a mid.
Oh, nice, nice.
So I think the main thing, I know we'll probably talk about soul charge stuff later on, but one of the main things I did want to talk about is the fact that if I'm in soul charge, then you have this to worry about.
Oh yeah, yeah, she needs it.
Yeah, the lethal hit condition for this is I am in soul charge and you are not.
Yeah, so basically just exist. That's the lethal
Yep.
condition. That's tight.
Hmm.
That's tight.
By the way, one of the things that I didn't go over before because you never get to see it, she has another lethal hit that I didn't mention,
Mm-hmm.
and it's when the lethal hit condition is the move becomes a lethal hit after you have done 4 lethal hits. And that's 1B.
Wow,
Yeah, it's really funny.
that's great.
That's really when an Amy is just attempting to style on you. That's the only time that you're really going to be seeing that all that often. Or they're
Wow.
trying to go white where lethal hits become a lot more powerful and
So
much more readily available.
so for sure, like a lot of you guys I'm having on, most of you having on, can talk for like hours and hours and hours. I don't want to. I want to squeeze as much into an hour like as possible because I just don't want to overwhelm
Sure.
people, and I actually want people to look for the Amy Discords, reach out to you. You know, even Dated on Twitter. I'm probably butchering her name, but
No, Daoden's correct.
okay, sweet. Then I just got lucky. So you
Yeah.
know, reach out to the Amy players. I'm really trying to get them to, you know, which I hope has been proven by now. As I'm doing these Wave of the Blades, is that reach out to these players that are on here, and they're more than happy to help you with answer questions or something I didn't clarify in the video, or just something we didn't get to. Like we're probably not gonna get to the best soul charge stuff, whatever. But
There's a lot of stuff to
yeah, there's a lot to
do
her.
with Amy. A lot of it is
Hmm.
cheese that can be easily beaten. A lot of it is
Right,
straight up, and it's important to know all of it.
for sure. So let's see. So let's go over a couple more. Is she a strong ring out character?
He can be a pretty strong ring out character. Basically, once you got something like 6AA, it can be very difficult to deal
Oh,
with her ring out stuff. In fact, it's the exact same move that you'll end up using. So something like if I can get well, 2-2B will be a very easy ring out here, but
mm-hmm.
like a lot of what you're dealing with is 6AA stuff that will give you a significant amount of corner carry. We're not talking like Nightmare or something like this,
Right, right.
but her ring outs can be a lot scarier than you would initially think.
Oh,
You can do that too.
deadly.
It's the exact same move that you end up using for wall combos. Her wall combos used to not be all that scary, at least not in my opinion. But then once you have something like 6AA, you can get quite a lot going off of it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that wasn't even the full combo because it dropped for no reason.
Jeez. And it's like you don't want to say, "Oh yeah, just duck," you know, just don't duck in the wall, whatever, because like I kind of feel like you might get boned either way.
Yeah,
That's
effectively, you just have to. 9 times out of 10, when you're dealing with Amy at the wall, you're
mhm,
going to just be stand blocking because you really don't want to get hit by that. And
right.
so then you're just getting into a whole lot of these, and you're just dealing with this over and over again. And that can be very scary in and of itself.
No, that's scary, man, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so you don't feel she's really strong at guard pressure. We went over some ring outs. Pretty soon. Thank you everybody for joining the chat. I do appreciate it. If you guys have questions, please put them in the chat. Because otherwise, I just never shut the fuck up and I'll keep talking and I'll ask them other stuff. But if you guys have questions, please ask them.
Yeah, let me at least go over what
Go ahead.
ends up
Yeah.
happening once Amy does get red roses, because
Go
that's
ahead.
a very important stipulation. So we went over some of the stuff that's really powerful
Mhm.
when she has no roses and how she gets those red roses. So once she ends up getting it, it's basically something that heavily increases her neutral game to the point where she's one of the best neutral characters in the game,
Mhm.
and it increases her combo damage to something that's incredibly powerful. So without red roses, your 2-2B combo is something like this,
Right.
which can be 45 damage. And then once you have red, then you're looking at something like this. So your typical
That's a
whiff
lot.
punish went from 45 to 67. When you don't have red roses, then like something like this just becomes like a little bit of a knockdown. Meanwhile, with red, this becomes a break attack instead, which can then be comboed into something that's a lot higher, something like this.
Oh.
Yeah, 4B is a move that will just like effectively throw a rose. It's kind of like this. It's
Mhm.
not that particularly powerful. 4BB, on the other hand, gives you a knockdown. It also hits grounded. It's very, very powerful. The two things that I think are very important to note about her neutral game
Mhm.
when Red Roses becomes a thing. So remember how I said like this is a fantastic move. It's minus 20 on block, so it's very scary, but it's an unseeable hoary mid low
Right.
that you have to deal with, right?
And that opens up
And
more
then
mids. Yeah, so you got to do that low sometimes. You have to.
yeah. So once you have Red Roses, now it becomes even harder to deal with, especially for your character.
Oh yeah.
So now it's double. Now it goes even farther. It does more damage and it's safer. It's now minus 16 as opposed to 20.
That
Which for
is.
a character, especially like Cervantes, makes his punish without meter inconsequential to say the least.
Yeah, much better. It's much better to deal with for sure.
Yeah, so that becomes very, very difficult. It is now minus 4 on hit, which was one of the big changes that they gave her. So you don't necessarily have to. What used to happen before, and which is still the case for a handful of other characters,
Mhm.
is when I hit with this, I effectively have the ability to just walk away. Now, that's not necessarily the case against some characters. I do effectively have to plant my feet in some other instances simply because I'm
Right.
minus 4 as opposed to neutral like I was before,
Right.
but still very, very powerful. The other move that you want to look at is the fact that her AAA is like kind of a traditional AAA outside of Red Roses. It's minus 12 if I do like the full thing. You could do like a GI, something like that.
Mhm.
When I get Red Roses, now I have significantly more damage. It gives me a huge amount of counter hit boost, and it's only minus 6 on
Oh,
block.
wow.
Yeah, it's very cheap. You can still GI the third hit. In fact, that's what a lot of people do.
Okay.
That is effectively what you are supposed to do. But very similar to the mid parry A bait,
Mhm.
I can effectively wait for you to GI the third hit and try to pressure you afterwards. So it can be it's dealer's choice really as to whether
Right.
you want to try and deal with that overall or not.
Pick your poison. Yeah, yeah. That's dirty.
A lot of that stuff that you're seeing here is just effectively what I'm talking about. Once Amy gets Red Roses, she still has 3A. 3A is still ridiculous and everything. But now, where I used to have to commit to something like 1B, which has big time issues in and of itself,
Mhm.
uh, due to like the lack of hitboxes and the fact that it's really unsafe,
Right.
now I don't even have to do that. Now I can just go with like a 4AA. And it's so non committal. I mean, it's still minus 16, but compared to like the amount of control it gives you with regards to the spacing of your opponent and the fact that
It's a
it's just going to
natural.
be really difficult to hit in and of itself. It's just providing you so much stage control. That, along with, I mean, again, it's such a stepping kind of meta, just running up to somebody and doing AAA. Very, very difficult to deal
Yeah,
with
it's
in and of
obnoxious.
itself.
That's
You want to
obnoxious.
talk about getting needled to the point of the fact that you're dead. That's the best character in the game, short of Purple Amy, which just does effectively a good Purple Amy does what Red Amy does, just also with Purple CE, and that's really the only difference between the two characters.
Hmm. And purple is when you have the red and white together, right? Like you have
Yep.
all 8 roses. Okay.
Yeah, which is effectively just it chains off of uh, the moves that are provided to you with both red and white, and it gives you the best CE in the game.
Oh, this is the best E in the game.
Yep.
This is the damage.
That is nerfed damage, by the way.
Wow, that's pretty
Yeah,
nice.
85. So yeah, used to do 90, now it's doing about 85. It's I-12. So it's also just as so. Imagine how frustrating it is dealing with Zhanghua when you're in Yellow Life and you're trying to do
Hmm.
anything, and she's gonna catch you with a CE for any sort of whiff, any ducked grab, any ducked high, any
Hmm.
2K on block, anything at all. Except you don't have to be in Yellow Life for Amy's purple CE to kill you.
That's
It's also
nuts.
important to note that gives me meter when I hit it.
Oh yeah, she needs it.
Yeah, it also takes yours. So
Of,
there's that
of
too.
course, of course it does.
Yep. Yeah.
So
But Purple
go
Amy
ahead.
also like you have like the best I-16 punish in the game. I don't know why this is whiffing. Is this like a unique cast that ended up taking away some of the hitboxes or something? Or am I just like screwing it up? I'm just screwing it up because of the parsec
It's
Okay.
parsec. It's goofy sometimes, man. That's why I tell
Well, we are
people.
across the country, so
Yeah, that exactly.
You also get like the best I-14 punish in the game.
That's nice.
Yeah, you got something like this.
Ugh.
Or hell, you don't even need to do something like that. You could just do something like full crouch 3K into your purple CE.
What?
That's a combo.
That's crazy. Wow.
Oh yeah, full crouch 3K. Guess what this is on hit? What do
Um,
you guess?
+6.
Uh, you are more than cutting it in half.
Okay, so +2.
Plus 14.
Huh.
1
Wow.
4.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, this move is kind of underrated. Amy players don't really use it. It is unsafe, but it's a -12. So like,
But no
I
one
don't know,
punishes it though.
kind of who cares?
But no one punishes it. Yeah, who cares? For all you get,
Yeah,
yeah, who cares?
some people will, but it's not particularly effective. Like, this is what I get when I don't have any roses. So it's like it's cool. It can be a nice wall rising punishment, but it's not particularly impressive. It really
Mhm.
becomes impressive once you have white, where you get something like 214B, something like that. Um, and then obviously it becomes ridiculously super impressive
You're
once I have
stacked.
purple, which is
Right.
what we saw before, into the CE or into like the full combo. But that's
That's
neither here
crazy.
nor there. I just wanted to mention that full crouch 3K. You guys should take a look at this thing because
No, for
it's
sure.
kind of ridiculous.
That's why you're here. Anything you want to throw out? General advice? Like, I actually had a couple more sections I want to cover. One of them was like, well, I guess before we get into Amy, yeah. So, do you have like any jank that you're seeing Amy players get away with that they shouldn't be?
There is a setup that I use over and over again, and whether you beat me or don't beat me, there is a huge this is very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the big benefits of Amy, in between season 1 and season 2. In season 1, I didn't find her meter game to be really all that great
Mm-hmm.
because I should mention her soul charge activation bubble is much bigger than you would think. It's like the biggest in the whole game. You will
Really?
still have to
Whoa!
block it even from some place like that. So it's very, very scary.
Wow!
But the fact of the matter, I just wanted to mention that just in case if anybody was surprised whenever you had. It is very rare to be far away enough to not have to deal with Amy's soul charge activation.
That's
But the fact of the
crazy.
matter is,
Wow.
she's a very aggressive character that doesn't particularly want to do something like that. Amy doesn't want to push you away because now I'm going to have to spend over half of my soul charge trying to get in
Right.
and do a lot of damage on you, right? So the fact that you can like do something like soul attack, I don't know why I'm trying to soul attack when I have soul charge. How do I get it so that I'm not in soul charge all the time? I'm trying
One
to remember
one
how I.
one P soul charge. I think you were there. Take it off. Always max. Yeah. 1 P soul charge setting at normal. There we go.
There we go. Her soul attack combos off of basically any kind of vertical hit that you have. You can be comboed off of 3B, 2B, 1B. You effectively just exchange it for what you normally do, right? So a lot of what people end up doing is when they get hit by that soul attack,
Mm-hmm.
they will just try to get up and stand block. But remember that low parry K lethal hit that I had mentioned before?
Right. Oh.
And then it'll get hit by something like that, right? So that's something that a lot of people get hit by, and they think that it's a combo when really it's not.
So you just gotta stand up and
So,
duck. Okay.
no, tech to the side.
Oh. Okay.
So when you get hit by the soul attack, whenever you get hit by any Amy soul attack, 9 times out of 10 to deal with the lowest common denominator,
Mm-hmm.
basic Amy soul charge soul attack kind of stuff, you
Mm-hmm.
want to tech up to the side.
Okay.
And now I'm just
Oh.
whipping like a doofus.
Oh. Good.
Now let's say you didn't
Plan.
know that. Let's say you get hit by the low parry K.
Mhm.
Just like, the 1B soul attack into low parry K. Something else that happens is. Well, you can just get hit by it on the ground, too. It does have to hit you when you're standing in order to go through, like, the whole lethal
Oh, so
hit
you
activation.
want me to get up? Okay, I can get up.
Yeah, try to get up as if I didn't just explain that
Okay.
idea.
Oh my god, these characters, bro.
Look at that damage. That's an incredible combo, right? It's over 100 damage.
But
That's not a combo.
But it's fake. Yeah, I figured it was fake.
Yeah. The AMS A plus B after you get hit by the low parry K has the exact same answer as the low parry K lethal hit. Tech up to the side.
Mm.
So on either option, what you're supposed to be doing there is teching to the side. Do not just lay there. Anytime I do, that's the damage I get.
Right.
It's super important you don't get hit by this. There are so many players I've run into in rank that don't know about it that should have beaten me,
Right.
and I only need to hit this once and I won the game. Like, it doesn't take much else
That's
to
crazy,
beat
yeah.
to do it at that point. So it's really important that you don't get hit by that kind of jank. That's the important stuff, I would say.
That's dope, man. That's awesome. All right, so let's get to actually. This is always my favorite part of the Way of the Blade with everybody. Um, General advice. Anything we should look for. How do you beat Amy? The
It's not
anti-section.
easy. As we were talking about at the beginning of it, it all hinges on how much time you can keep her from achieving her ramp mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
Especially for a character like yours, Cervantes is the character that it hinges upon it the most. If you are not beating Amy in the first round before she gets red roses, that can be a pretty big deal.
Right.
And as I said, predominantly, the way that she's going to be getting her roses is off of 2-2B, 3B, 1B. What they all have in common is that they're
Linear.
Bs. They're all verticals. So I know getting hit by 3A into a bunch of other stuff is very frustrating. It doesn't do anywhere near as much damage as a launcher into a rose.
So it's very similar to Cassandra because a lot of people just don't listen that Cassandra, her best shit is linear as hell.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same kind of concept, right? So you kind of make her check you with the annoying stuff that's not going to kill you.
Yeah. You effectively have to be comfortable. It's important to remember that when you're playing against Amy, the objective of the game is not to perfect Amy. The idea isn't to make it so that she never hits you. The only way that an Amy player is never going to hit you is if the Amy player is terrible or you just happen to be in the Amy player's head.
Right, right.
She has forced mix-ups a lot, and it's very difficult to deal with. So you have to be comfortable with the fact that you're gonna get edged out by some of these moves quite a lot. But the fact of the matter is, I just hit you like 6 times. You weren't even below half health. If Cervantes hits me 6 times, I'm dead.
Oh, for sure.
And
Yeah.
so
Very good, yeah.
that's the way it's going to be. The longer you can keep an Amy player from achieving their ramp mechanic, significantly the easier it's going to be. Because Amy with no roses just does not have a lot of damage going for her. It's a lot of good frames, it's a lot of reverse mix-ups, and that's the way it is. You also want to try and take advantage of the fact that her range is not the strongest thing in the game. More often than not, I've seen like how Mario players will get a knockdown on me and then will like run up to me and try to do a mix up.
So they shouldn't be doing
and I'm
that.
thinking like that is not what your character is about, my guy. Like
That's
that
true.
is not what that character does. It's not what Ivy does. Nobody short of Taki and maybe Talam are supposed to go in on Amy. It does not happen very often.
What about
You're
what about
supposed
Cassandra? Do you think that she should be going in on her or no?
No, not really.
No?
I
Okay.
wouldn't say so. I think it's fine because she's a powerful character up close, but I think she's not as powerful as Amy up close. Really, the only character I can think of that is as powerful, more powerful than Amy up close is Taki. That's really it.
What about Yoshi?
No, I think every character except for Taki in the entire roster would do better to space Amy out and try to get whiff punishes and such, rather than trying to go in and force mixes. Because I have the best reverse mix-ups in the game. I have available with a ton of tech crouches, and I have parries that come out in 4 frames. So, yes, it's possible that a Yoshi player is going to go in and just completely destroy me by mixing me up. Shoutouts to Boom. But predominantly, that's not how Boom beats me. Boom beats me by doing this, and just doing AA and keeping me from getting roses.
Right.
That's the way to do it.
So people you feel are being very impatient, like, let me just get in her face and destroy her before she can do anything. You think that
You want to play your character. You want to be able to, do what your character is all about. Got to get in here and do this. And please do. I hope that you do that to me. Because statistically, it's not going to work out for you.
Okay, that's good. That's good to know. So I didn't say that. That's a good call out too, because I probably was playing the matchup wrong. Because I get hit, like, I don't duck. I rarely duck. So I usually give out roses like You know, like I'm very romantic. I just give everybody red roses. And he can just have them.
That's very nice of you. That's very gracious of you.
I am, man. You know, and
Yeah.
yeah, so that's probably why I'm one of the people who struggles with this matchup, and I just hope like, you know, like I called myself out too. You know, I was telling myself like, yeah, just kill her before she kills me. But that's good to know.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
it's
try
just
that.
not. It's just not going to work out. I think you would do a lot better, especially with a character with that backdash cancel.
Hmm.
Remember how earlier we were showing, like, look at how great 4A is. It's constantly catching you and everything.
Right.
Predominantly, when somebody like Ender's J is fighting me, and they end up getting hit by 3As and 4As and stuff like that, he is perfectly willing to accept that he's going to get hit by a 3A or a 4A
Yeah.
when he backdash cancels,
Yep.
and then he does it again,
Absolutely.
and now he's out of my range.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's the idea.
Awesome, man. All right. So, if nobody has questions, I'm gonna ask a couple. I'm gonna ask a couple more. And I appreciate you taking the time to explain all this about Amy. You know, it's awesome of you.
Yeah,
What
sure, no problem. And she's a very deep character. I didn't really go into White Roses. I kind of don't
exactly?
need to, but I didn't go
Yeah.
into White Roses, and there's a variety of other things that you need to know. So there's a lot of stuff going on.
And I want to always emphasize that, right? I don't want to. I always tell people in the beginning, usually at the end, I'm not going into everything this player knows about the character because we could be here
Yeah,
for easily 5 to 6 hours, and
yeah,
the advanced players will really appreciate it. But I don't want to scare off like people who are maybe casual, semi-casuals. Maybe they're just struggling on rank. They're trying to get to a rank, and they're like, "Hey, let me pop open this video. Let me timestamp it. Let me see where I'm struggling." You know, I don't want to overwhelm people. Um,
you
what
want
do
a
you?
basic overview to allow them to have
Right.
some sort of a foundation for what to then do next.
Exactly.
Because this isn't
Exactly.
the end all be all.
Exactly. Now, and of course, people ever like want another part two, I'm more than happy to do it. You know. Let's see here. So, what do you think? Does she struggle or lose to any characters?
She loses to Siegfried. Siegfried is the hardest matchup for her.
Mm-hmm.
That is because one of the weaknesses that she has is that notice how all of the moves that I did that I was talking about that were incredible, none of them were kicks.
Mm.
She doesn't have particularly strong kicks. You know, they have buffed this move like 8 times, and like, you know, it's this.
I
It's
noticed it.
fine, I
I
guess.
noticed it and mention it. So you don't think it's a good move still?
No,
Okay.
66K is pretty good, but you know, her best kicks are relatively mediocre, meaning that you're not really catching step all that much.
Okay.
Like I said before, her overall strategy is to try and get roses on people who are going to be statue blocking. Nobody statue blocks anymore, so they're going to be constantly sidestepping. So now you have to do things like 3A, 6A, 4A. All of these lose to base hold, and
Hmm.
that's very scary.
Wow. Okay. I didn't
Siegfried
know that.
has the ability with that auto GI because I don't really have kicks readily available to me that's gonna stop him to a significant degree. Siegfried's the only character that can take Amy's mix-up game and put her in a reverse mix-up game where the damage is so heavily in his favor that statistically he's going to do more damage than I am.
Hmm.
In most of these situations. So anytime I'm trying to catch his step, anytime I'm trying to make him block something slash get hit by something, it's a mix-up that is damage-wise statistically out of my favor. So it's a very spooky matchup.
Now we can all acknowledge Amy's better than Siegfried, but you're saying when they fighting each other, his risk reward you feel is better.
Yeah,
Okay.
because she doesn't have the same way of jailing somebody from sidestepping that she does against any other character.
Right.
Because he has an auto GI that has a weakness that Amy can't really exploit. The auto GI doesn't deal with kicks, but Amy can't really enforce that weakness on him anywhere near as much. So overall, the framework can eventually be where both Amy and Siegfried have to play that matchup incredibly cautiously.
Hmm.
And if Siegfried's playing a matchup cautiously, that's kind of what he wants to do. When Amy is playing a matchup cautiously, she's in trouble. She's going to be having a tough time because now you're hitting buttons just as much as your Siegfried opponent is. But Siegfried's buttons are hitting for 4 times the damage. So it's just not going to, you're not going to be able to keep up.
Fair enough. That's a very good explanation. Thank you. And I don't even think I'll go over the matchups of Amy that's favorable because I feel like very much like Cervantes, she either beats the cast or goes even. Doesn't really lose to anybody
Yeah,
or
there
not a
is
lot of people.
there's one other character that potentially she loses to. And that's Taki. So I think Taki is the best character in the game with regards to beating other I-10 characters,
Hmm.
because Taki's the only character that's faster than the I-10 characters.
Right.
Now, I do want to stress that Taki beats Amy as a matchup specifically on paper
Right, right.
and not necessarily because the way that she beats Amy is that her execution is 100% on point because she's the only character that can punish 2-2-B on block. She's the only character that can punish 3A on block. But these are difficult things to do.
Right, for
And
sure.
there's, so for instance, Omega XEN, the last time I played against him, I breathed a sigh of relief when I found that his execution was not on point.
Hmm.
And if the execution is not on point, then it becomes a typical Amy matchup where she gets red and then she just lames the opponent out.
Right.
But if the execution is 100% on point, which we kind of have to assume just based purely off of the concept of what a matchup is,
Right, right.
then everything is being punished and Amy can be put into a bad way. Taki's also pretty good at dealing with, like, the parry mix-ups because you have, like, the 2KK, which can be very difficult to deal with. She gets a lot of counter hit combos based off of parries and a lot of stuff like that. So it can be overall relatively difficult for Amy when you're dealing with a character that can mix up their hit levels as often as Taki can. And again, it's predominantly because of the punishing. But this is really just matchup based. There hasn't been with all due respect to Kwong, there has not been a Taki player that has shown me, demonstrated to me, that it is a bad matchup in practical application just yet.
So yeah, so we're talking. So just and I think he'll probably know what you mean. Like on paper, this is what she'd be doing, but it's maybe not the most realistic thing for a
Easier said
Taki
than done, yeah.
to have 100% execution because she's not an easy character to play at all. She's pretty hard.
Yeah, those are the only two characters I can think of that are definitely, in my opinion, characters that beat Amy. Now, her matchup chart got a bit worse in the latest patch,
Right.
but that being said, at least before that happened, I thought that she had the best matchup chart of everybody in the game.
That's good to know. I definitely appreciate that. All right. Well, if we have no additional questions, thank you again, my man, thank you for being patient. Kind of those couple weeks I wasn't ready and
Oh, sure, no problem.
had a very very long summer. So
Yeah.
thank you again for being patient. Thank you everybody who came and joined the stream. Let's see if we can rate somebody. Let's see who is streaming right now.
Might be relatively difficult just because Steam has been having such a hard time.
Yeah,
but hopefully I'm wrong.
Yeah, I'd like to find somebody, but maybe not. Yeah, I hope this helped out, and if you guys again have questions for Soul Calibur or anything, please, reach out and ask. Okay, Lean X Triforcer. I know him.
Oh, sure.
I like him.
Yeah, Astro Player.
Ha! He's rating me. I was gonna rate him.
That's funny.
So hey, what's up, Lean? Everybody, welcome. Lean, I literally was just clicking on the name to go rate you, man. I was just ending the stream. That's kind of funny. Man.
Lean, you blew it. Why did you do it?
Goddamn Astro players, so uncooperative. Yeah, well, thank you, everybody. Welcome to the stream. I was just ending an episode of Wade the Blade. Yeah. So I'll have this up in the next 24 hours on YouTube. Yeah, Lean, I was just gonna raid you, man. Yeah, I saw, man. But I appreciate you coming. Thank you, everybody, for stopping in. Appreciate JJJ. Thank you again. And another quick shout out, man. Like, people really hope they understand that the game is quote unquote dead when we decide it is. And I'm just being as realistic as possible. If people are playing in tournaments, if they're, doing whatever they want to do, we don't need Namco or anybody else to tell us what's what. Just keep playing the game. Like, offline hopefully will come back soon. In the meantime, do online matches. We're always having stuff go on. Just keep the game alive if you keep playing, man.
Yeah, offline is alive and kicking already in a handful of places. You find offline Xanadu's, offline NOBCs. It's just last weekend, I believe there was a tournament that happened in the UK. The fact of the matter is, I played this game during late stage Soul Calibur 5. And so whenever somebody says that this game is dead with the way the community is right now, it's very difficult for me to take it seriously.
Right.
And the fact of the matter is, if you don't know everything about the game, and if there are people around that can still beat you, then I don't really know why it would matter whether there's one person who can beat you, or 25, or 10,000. If there's still more for you to learn in the game, then that's really all that should matter. And if it's not all that should matter, then I don't know. I don't know what you want.
That's good advice, man. Just keep playing. The game is fun. We've always been a niche game series. There's never been a time where Soul Calibur was more popular than Tekken or really like and yes, I'm old enough where I played all these games in the arcade. So trust me on this. I love Soul Calibur to death. It'll be the love of my life. But with that being said, people play because they love it. Don't let people deter you from it or online this, online that. Man, just find a way to play and just fucking play. Like I can't make it more simple than that.
It should be a game that is personal to you. It is
Yeah.
about your own personal achievement, not the achievement of beating more than one or two people. It's about reaching your personal absolute potential. How big the community is with regards to that shouldn't really matter.
Yeah, like if we're all not cheering on a Creator Soul Talum that's like the size of Astroth just running at you with a weird voice, I don't know why we're even playing this game. So that's really what it's all about, man. Just play, have fun, and you know, yeah. All right, well, thank you everybody for joining. We're gonna again, unless another Astroth player comes in and messes everything up, we're gonna try to. Let's see here. Who else?
Yeah, I don't know who you're gonna find
I
now. I don't
I don't
know
think
any of these
anybody.
other names.
I see a Sako 32, Xbox Soul Calibur 6. You know what? He's got a nice little lobby going. He's got 4 people going. I'm gonna go raid this guy. All right, so let's see here. No, no, you're good. I love you, Betty. I'm just playing, man. I just talk shit. All right, Sako 32, because my memory is ass. Thank you, everybody, for coming again. Machine Gun Kills, thank you for the follow, and I hope everybody has a good night. All right, man. I thought that went really well. I really
Yeah,
really appreciate it, and yeah, I hope you don't feel like I cut you off or anything. I just like it's hard to keep
there's
like
only so much time. Yeah.
yeah. You know what? I'm trying to keep it like um not David. There's another guy with a D. The guy well not David. It's not a guy. Let me rephrase that. The the guy in the UK who was doing commentary, something with a D. Um, he
Texas.
he has
Who
something
else
with a
is it?
D, but he was doing a commentary right for that one up we play not one up we play series whatever.
Right.
Um, UK player.
Oh, Dan or I.
Thank you, Darren. And he the way he's doing his is like 4 hours, and I feel
Yeah.
like people like me, I like that shit. That's really cool. But you see a casual or the random, I don't know, DC, whatever rank, like E rank, and they're stuck, they ain't pulling that 4 hour video. They're
Yeah.
just not gonna fucking do it. So I figure like let me make mine shit like